Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Ashley Poston's novel Geekerella, and this is a modern retelling of Cinderella in a way that kind of incorporates a lot of pop culture and fandom. And I want to give a disclaimer before I go into this review. It is going to be spoiler filled, and I will go over a little bit before I go into spoilers, and I will let you know when I start going into spoilers. However, I really want to tell you that I am not a reader of contemporary. I'm not a reader of romance. I wouldn't even consider myself a fan of either genre. I only ever pick up contemporary because of social issues or mental health, pretty much exclusively. And I read less than I probably read normally only around 5, maybe 10 contemporary novels a year. So if you are an avid contemporary reader and you love the tropes and the genre as a whole, I'm probably not the best reviewer, so I'm going to jump right into it. As I said, it's a fun ride. It has the classic Cinderella tale with a lot of modern references. However, it also deals with a lot of gross overgeneralization and a lot of nonsensical things that just don't make sense. And I know that's repetitive, but I feel like it needs to be said. Characters. The main character that is Cinderella in it is Elle, and she is a 17-year-old who loves pop culture, and her father died. Her father was a huge fan of this show, and they watched it together in reruns. It is a show that is one that wasn't popular at the time, but since has had a cult following. He died in a car accident many years ago when she was around 10, I think I'm remembering. And since then, she's lived with her stepmother, Catherine, and her stepsisters, Chloe and Cal, who are the same age as her. And she is a very interesting character. I don't super love her. She's quite quiet and passive, which is to be expected of a Cinderella story, but sometimes there's a nice twist in there, and there wasn't. But my major issues is that she's super, super judgmental. And can I say selfish? Like, she hates everyone who's a celebrity or rich in general. Like, she's just like anyone that is anything other than a geek. She's like, or alternative, she's kind of like, I don't like you and you're fake and blah blah blah. And it just makes me want to yell at her. And then she's also so self-absorbed without even realizing it. For instance, this is the first chapter. We're introduced to her. She gets news of the casting of her favorite show in the reboot, and then her coworker, Sage, is waiting for her at the end of the laneway, and she writes an entire blog post before she goes to work, making her coworker stay out there and be late for work because she couldn't care less. That is... I don't know one person who would do that. Like, that is so entitled. Beyond compare, and yet she spends the whole time talking about people being entitled. I don't understand. So the other part of it is that there's a reboot, and we have Darian, who's the movie star in it, and he is a typical movie star in like a teen movie or adaptation of modern contemporary movie people, and he is a heartthrob, but he wants a deeper side. And okay, I like that he wanted to explore his deeper side, but other than that, he's very stereotypical. So stereotypical. Things that I did find him that I liked was the fact that he was afraid of heights, and that he was a crier, which are things that tend to be male stereotypes. But everything else about him, also, I have a huge complaint when it comes to Darian. And, well, not Darian himself, but the writing around Darian. So there's much talk about, well, not even that much talk. There's like 3 comments about the fact that they hope the person is not whitewashed, and the fact that he wasn't whitewashed when he was cast. But his actual race, his ethnicity, nothing is ever talked about. Like, I could have just missed it, but I don't think so, because I made very thorough notes. And we know that the original actor's last name was Singh, so that's Sanskrit, so I'm assuming that he was Indian, Does that make Darien Indian? His mother is mentioned briefly to be in India, but it's not given whether that is like where she was born, where he was born, where anyone was grown up. We don't know anything other than the fact that she's in India. His father's name is Mark Freeman, which is the whitest name ever, and if he is of Indian descent, I don't know any Indian people who give their kids white names, like European names. Like, you know, it's very common in Asian culture to give your kid an American or Canadian or whatever name. It's not common in Indian cultures that. I've never met people from Indian descent, and I have plenty that I know that go by European names. Especially Freeman is the last name. So is he biracial? I don't know. He's only ever described as tall and dark-haired. Which means he could be white. He could be any other race. Because all other races other than white almost exclusively have dark hair. I don't know what he is. And that's a really big issue. Because if he is Indian, that is so cool, because the fact that Indian, like, there is not a single Indian actor that I know that has ever been showcased. As much as, like, he's told to hide that he's a geek, which also doesn't make sense, especially since she name drops Tom Holland. Well, she doesn't name drop him, but she name drops the new Spider-Man movie, who is, like, known for unabashedly being a huge geek and fan. And yet also in this otherworldly world, it's bad to be a geek and that he can't reveal it. It doesn't make sense. Being a geek in Hollywood is not a big issue, but being not white can be an issue. Of course, it's not actually an official issue, but it is an issue that a lot of people who are casting feel like they can't cast POC leads because it might be alienating for white culture and audiences that don't see themselves, and white people are the ones who give us the most money, so we must pander to them. That is a lot of the community in it. You don't see a lot of leads of color, and when they are, they're almost exclusively black. And especially with a lot of Middle Eastern dislike. Of course, a lot of the population of India is Hindu and other religions, however, they often get coupled in with the Middle East and Muslims, and there's so much hate toward those people group that being a star in that would cause controversy. And yet it's never discussed. No one has any issue, no one has any feelings on, you know, what it was for him to be a star, how he came, has he dealt with racism, any of this, nothing is discussed. And as well as it's wonderful to think that we live in a world where people would be like, great, we don't live in that world really. We don't, especially when it comes to people of Indian descent. It's not a thing, really. So I really was sad that that was not ever explored. And the thing is, it's not a crime to not go into someone's race and how that affects them. It's just, if you have representation that is completely ignorant of all contextualization, it just falls flat, I think. I absolutely loved Sage. She's this wonderful countercultural girl who works and drives around in a pumpkin car, and it's great. Pumpkin food truck. That is ingenious. I love it. I also love that she's an alternate girl who has a great relationship with her mom, because that's never seen. I also love that she seamlessly is the fairy godmother and the baker, and yet a completely unique character at the same time. Although I do have complaints around her relationship with Cal. Like, I don't even know if we can call it. Like, from the first moment they saw, I was like, oh, she's the baker. She's gonna fall for the least mean stepsister. And yeah, that was cool. Except for the fact that they have no chemistry. Do they even have dialogue? Do they talk? It's literally like, they meet and then they're like, hey, we're gonna go spend time together. We're a couple. But that's it. Nothing. Nothing else. And I'm excited because there was like breadcrumbs, I guess, to the next novel, which focuses on Sage. And funny fact, we were talking about fairy tales, and breadcrumbs was first existed during the Hansel and Gretel age, where they were talking about the breadcrumbs that led them back home. Anyways, fun side note. But I don't know if they actually have a real relationship. And I know it's sub-characters, but there isn't that many extra characters in it that I feel like they could have at least had like some moment of like chemistry or them clicking or like being like, oh, we like each other. But no, we don't get anything. I have so many issues with Chloe and Catherine. They are so nonsensical. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Like, how can you live with someone for 10 years and just have so much hate for no apparent reason? She did nothing wrong. Catherine, like, how did Robin fall for her? Like, I thought at one point, I was like, oh, fan theory. Like, not fan theory, but like, I thought that was where they were going, that she used to be a geek, but then be either because Robin's death was caused by geek-related thing, like he was going somewhere or he was doing something related, and that was when he got in a car accident, and or just that it reminds her of him, that's why she hates it. But no, we don't really, she just hates it in general because he abandoned her for it, and yet seems placed as a really good father. Maybe that's just unreliable narrator, but I don't know. Also, like, in what world is, in the 21st century, is orphan a slur? Like, we're not in the time of pre-modern age where, like, inheritance and marriage matters. I am almost 100% sure that unless you have, like, near sadistic people, if someone made fun of someone in public or in private and called them an orphan as a slur, that they would get punched solidly in the face. Like, even if I was friends with someone, like, I would just be like, what the heck? And, like, I know that I'm probably not the embodiment of evil, but still, I don't understand. Like, even rich kids would still punch someone if they called them that. Like, I don't understand. Also, in what otherworldly place is geek an insult? Like, do we live in an alternate world? Because science fiction and fantasy is huge, especially science fiction. Like, think of the MCU, think of Harry Potter, that's fantasy, but still, like, being a geek is embedded in pop culture. Like, science fiction and fantasy, like, that's the cool thing to do. So why? I also hate the description of Hollywood. Is just so superficial, and it's weird because Poston is trying to prove that Darian is not to be one person because he's a movie star, and yet she vilifies and stereotypes every other person involved in the Hollywood scene, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, celebrities are people. Like, aren't we there in things like, why are we? And like, I get that some people are probably fake and blah blah blah, but like, I tend to just believe that most people in Hollywood are genuine people. Like, maybe some things are for random stuff, but like 90% of the time, they're being their actual selves. And just the stereotypes. We have the girl who wants to win an Oscar, but she's getting old because she's 22. Wow, I'm ancient. And she has a fake relationship to hide the fact that she's a lesbian. I'm like pretty certain, maybe she's bisexual, but I'm pretty sure she's trying to hide that she's a lesbian. Like, fake relationship in Hollywood. It's so much. And also, just side note, she's 22 and he's like, I'm assuming just turned 18. That's real creepy. Like, who okayed this? We have the older guy who is jealous of the younger guy's fame. Then we have the parent manager who is controlling as heck and also super shady. And last and not least, we have my critiques of the romance. And that's that it was completely over text. Like, couldn't have we had like some kind of app, you know, that allows you to have voice or phoning or something? Or could have it just, like, I don't get that they would have been attached. They have like no reason to continue that conversation after it started, because I didn't feel any chemistry. And also, they never have heart-to-hearts. They never have, like, any real moments. Like, she actually says that, like, she knows nothing about him. So what is drawing them together? Like, ranting, kind of? I don't dig this. I don't understand it. Like, I wanted to see some moments, and then, like, we don't have any moments afterwards either. And it's just a lot. Like, actually, that's spoilers. It's just a lot. I wish that they had met through the blog or a fan site or something. Just something that would have made it more sense. A few thoughts that are spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go away. Okay, one last thing. So the whole blog thing. Okay, we have, he doesn't know if the blogger is a girl or a guy. Yet someone sees her in the bathroom and recognizes her from her avatar. So clearly her picture was on her blog. How did he not know what she looked like? Or that she was a girl? How? I don't understand. And it's just so confusing. Also, the whole things about, like, selling the thing with Brian and all of that. Like, first of all, people in life just don't care if you fall on your face on a deck, especially if you're a minor celebrity. Who cares? It's not gonna get you a role. Also, like, is that publicity? Do people, like, recently Grant Gustin got in trouble for vaping because he was stressed on an airplane, and there was, like, 2 articles on it, and it went away, and he technically kind of, like, broke a law, and he's a huge person headlining a show. Some random person could have done that and it wouldn't matter. So who falling on his face matters? I don't understand. Taking pictures of him being stuck on a roof? How is that an issue? Being on a roof. Yay. Alas, I rest my thoughts. It was fun. I had lots of, like, what? It's nonsensical. I guess that's the way it's gonna be. If you enjoy this, please like, comment, subscribe. I will see you soon, and happy reading and writing and creating. Goodbye.